2020. As we can see, the economic prosperity of Britain has been affected by several factors over the years. But what exactly led to the decline of Britain's rich economy? Several factors come into play. Firstly, the infamous Brexit. Britain's decision to leave the European Union in late June of 2016 triggered a series of economic shocks. The uncertainty that followed led to a slowdown in business investment, which in turn caused a slump in the nation's economic growth. Also, the fall in the pound's value hit consumers' purchasing power, leading to a decrease in consumption, a key driver of the economy. Next, let's talk about global recessions. The UK, like many other countries, was not spared from the devastating effects of the global financial crisis of 2008 and the more recent COVID-19 pandemic. During these periods, demand for goods and services plummeted.
This isn't very good anyway, listening to that. I think I have to call in on the normal number, which I will do, because that's what he sent me. I think that's the way he wants it today. I apologize for yesterday. My whole thing overheated, and I couldn't make it. I couldn't figure out a way to make it work. So I thought, does Ham still think squeeze before college championship? I never heard him say that, but yeah, I think he's very positive on. We'll find out. On, I'm going to call in because I can do it early. I think he's very positive on Finger, and I think he's understandably disappointed that Florida State didn't make the final.
Welcome, and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate for free. Please enter your access code followed by the pound. Muted.
All right. We'll hear him when he starts. Lucky's doing great. He's old. He's asleep next door. But we go on our walks, and he's very good. He's accepting. Another dog came up to him, started barking this morning at him. He didn't do anything. And he likes to go around for treats. So he's doing well. FSU Bucks. I don't know anything about it. Football ain't my bag, baby. Here's one, Austin Powers book. This thing's my bag, baby. Hey, Darren. Red pepperoni. CJ Yukon. Flying bus driver. Scott. Thank you, Julie. I'm not always pleased with my efforts, but we'll keep trying. Today our best, tomorrow better. Oh, I already saw that. AUS1 Tahoe. Okay, he should be coming on here momentarily. He didn't have me call into him, so I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want questions today because he's kind of taking the the slow road. Sober Delta. No, just kidding. I know it says Saber, but when I looked down there, it looked like Sober because I can't see out of this eye. Next week, I get this eye fixed, which I'm a little nervous about. All right, so 1 o'clock. Let me make sure that's the time.
All right, everybody, welcome. This is my opinion. This is not investment advice, and I'm going to make this short and sweet today, and just go through the bullet points here, what's going on, so you understand. Number one, in both GTII and in Finger, there is zero selling. It's just manipulation back and forth. If you can't see it, then you know nothing about the equity markets. GTII, the making short number is very low, and that number is actually reversed because most of the volume is fake. There's nothing going on in the stock. As you can see right now, the stock has got a 3-cent spread, all right, because there's no activity. There's nothing going on. The only people that close the spreads are the crooks. All right, there's actually no market in the stock. It's really basically a non-event until they start putting up trades and moving the spreads closer. So there's no one here but the shorts on top of the shorts. And where are they going? Finger motion, they've been manipulating and trying to hold it down. Every time the stock starts to lift up a little bit, like it did the other day at before 50, they came right back down trying to hold it down. They don't want the stock gaining any momentum. And that's what I keep trying to tell everybody. If you are playing, accumulate. I spoke to a gentleman I know for many years. I bumped into him, and he's buying 50,000 shares over the next few days. I told him to buy it a little every day. There's no race. Just keep accumulating it. If it goes, you got something. If it doesn't, you get a better price because they keep trying to hold it down. So I'm sure he's out there today buying some stock the way I told him to do it. All right, I can't stress it anymore, but accumulation is the best way to play these names. All right, the volatility, obviously the volatility is always down. You never see volatility come to the upside because they don't want it to get momentum and get carried away. So they keep trying to hold it down. It's the same, Richard, our legal advice is the same pattern. All right, now I'm going to move on to something else. I just want to let you guys know, and I'm not here to brag, I could care less. I only study naked short selling. All right, I know other names. I could say 100 names a day. I study the same names for a couple of years, and that's what I report on. You don't want to hear it? Move along. People call me up. They're looking for trade ideas. I'm not here to be a broker or your partner in your business of trading stocks. All right? I'm here to help expose naked short selling fraud and save us all from this crime. You, your family. I'm not here to go pick out stocks for you and say, hey, go make a quarter here, go make a half an hour. I don't care about that. So please stop asking me opinions about different names. When I hear something that my friends are buying, I tell you what I did. That's it. That's all I can do. All right. I'm not recommending anything. I reported on GameStop, all right, about naked short selling. I didn't report about the fundamentals because I really don't care about fundamentals in any of these names. But that company was going to zero. There was too many shorts. We call it a crowded short. And the big boys figured it out and they ran them over. That's it. It wasn't retail. So get that out of your head. Anybody ever says that? This was not a retail short squeeze. Right? We can't even squeeze them in finger using retail. A retail army. That shows you that. You need the big hedge funds to come in. And they come in when the stock starts going. They'd rather pay 10. That's how these guys think. Because if they pay 10, they'll sell it at 50. They know that. They'll pay 50 because they're selling at 100. Accumulation is for investors. The big boys will come. Finger motion is putting things in place, has been for a long time. The company doesn't need money. It's got revenues. The business is jumping. Everything's going perfect. Where are they going? It's just a matter of time before this thing explodes. When this explodes, we can walk into GTII and roast those guys. All right? GTI shorts got to be north of 450 million. Who the hell knows by now? I stopped counting. All right? GTI, we know it's Finger motion, we know is north of 200 million and 2 million real short. All right? The real short in GTI is 1 million shares, probably like 70 cents, maybe a little less because they average out. There's a short in that name. So here it is. I spoke about GTI. The spread is still 3 cents. No trades have happened. There's nothing going on. There's nothing to talk about. All right? I gave you the blueprint. If you want to buy Finger motion or GTII, because you think Finger motion is going to go, wait for it to go. Then you can jump in. I'll pay $1 if I sell Finger motion at 20. Right when I pay $1, it's a big deal. All right, so that's how you got to look at it. I look at what's going to go first. I think that finger motion is going to go first, based on what they're doing with Mark Bazile. Mark Bazile is getting his name more and more out there. Now he's representing MULN. He's going after the guys Capybara and SHOT, the guys that went after that. They're coming. The law's coming. Right? Mark has got tremendous connections in law enforcement. Right? So if you have any questions about who he knows in law enforcement, go ask him, because I did. And I'm not at liberty to say who he knows. Maybe he can tell you. So, I mean, this guy's got great inroads to the New York City, the Southern District. He knows major law enforcement, whether it's FBI, DOJ. He's very involved. That's the guy that's going to open doors in the short term. He's opening doors that Wes Christian cannot open. Wes is a long ball player. He's looking for the monster hits against the brokerage firms. All right, it's a very different type of player, different type of lawyer. All right, but again, what I see here, and I posted about GameStop, I did a report on GameStop for the Abu Dhabi regulators. I won the FinTech award in that country for my business plans. I couldn't close it out because the government officials keep changing. But what's going on in Abu Dhabi has now led us to South Korea. South Korea is being aggressive, just like I wanted Abu Dhabi to be. All right. So I believe the gateway to South Korea. I had a conference call yesterday with a gentleman in Hong Kong. He has regulators in South Korea. He's going to get me their numbers directly to them. I have another gentleman that has a contact. I can't, at liberty can't tell you what's going on. And we have someone else. I have three sources to get into the regulators. And I will get there shortly to go present our case and how they should throw the U.S. under the bus and take advantage and open up a venture exchange where we can bring U.S. public companies or companies from Italy, France, whatever, who are being tortured, go to a country that will protect public companies and their investors. That's my vision. That's my game plan. I could do a financial news show to wrap around it so that everyone gets coverage. The BS coverage that you think you get in here is from Benzinga, and Benzinga only gives coverage to people that when they're bashing your stocks. Go out there and tell me how many times you see companies getting positive opinions from nobody. There's no one here. There's nobody in the industry. And how are you going to get anybody to follow you? Unless you have to pay someone to go give you a research report. All right, so this is what I studied. I studied naked shorts. I did it in GameStop to perfection. People go, why didn't you follow AMC? I didn't follow AMC. I followed GameStop. Out of 10,000 names, I picked GameStop out, did a full report on them. No one else was doing that stuff. Roaring Kitty was yelling about whatever GameStop was about. He gets credit for what he did. Congratulations. He made millions of dollars because he got in early and he believed what he was saying. We're getting in early in names. You can see what's going on, and you can't cry to me that the stocks go up and down. Just go watch Roaring Kitty and see how long it took for him, and he made $15 million. All right? That's a life-changing game. And that's why we're here. All right? I can't tell you the second it's going to happen, but Lynn Partners and their partners and their offshore hedge funds that are shorting it, they're not getting away. They can sit here and try to move it back and forth, trying to scare you out. But we're not going away. There's more of us than them. I can promise you that. Onto the law enforcement side, things are moving. I'm not at liberty to say much more than that. All right? The people that are assisting me on this all feel very confident that things are moving in the right direction, and they move at their pace. All right? These guys are looking to lock people up. They're not going to sit here and give people a fine like they did with Savvy for creating a naked short selling scheme. These guys are here. When they catch you creating a scheme, you're going to jail. All right? We gave them the information about the counterfeiting of the U.S. equity markets, and now they can see it's going on in South Korea and Thailand. All right? They can go back in history. We gave them all the information, how big it is, what's going on here, and how long it's been going on for. This is it. It's for the government. There's taxes that people aren't paying. It's a whole revenue source for everyone. All right. So I believe that we hit the jackpot with the Secret Service. I just can't tell you what second they're going to come. When they knock on the door, you watch how fast the rats are going to run. I promise you that. All right, because I already spoken to 2 of them, and I'm telling you, it's the same. Their opinion is, once we knock on the door, we're locking people up. I says, well, go get them. That's the way it goes. All right, the FBI is a different story. FBI is very tight-lipped about everything they do. They want information. I give them information, and it's a black hole. The Secret Service, they want to understand more. They have analysts. They have people that can trace the money. And this is not chasing a guy with a bag of 20s. This is big money. All right? At 200 million shares at $4 is $800 million crime, $1 billion crime for Lynn Partners. All right? The attack on the short and the short on SHOT, I forgot the numbers, but they drove that stock down 3 points like they did in Finger Motion to Capybara. All right? These guys are short. They distort, they make stuff up, and they all attack using these market makers that don't have to borrow shares, and they just sell them at the market. All right, we can all do this. This is not a crime that we can't figure out. All right, we don't need the schematics. Just go out there. You got the loophole. Put out a fake story and just hit the sell button as fast as you can until everybody panics. You don't stop until everybody panics. All right, so I went over that there's no selling. I talked about GameStop. I told you about why I didn't cover AMC. I follow a few stocks. The ones I follow, you can ask me about, but I'm not going to give you opinions. I follow a lot of stocks. So please stop asking me opinions on this, that, the other thing. You know, again, Frank DiBenedetto, I like the guy a lot. He's got a lot of stocks that he works with. Ask him. I don't even know what they do. Right? But I do trust Frank and what he's saying, because the guy's out here fighting. He's showing you pictures of his kids on Twitter playing baseball and hockey. I mean, the guy's a fighter. All right? He's not backing down. He's standing there tall. All right? William fights every day for you guys. He doesn't have to, but he does. Ace does it. All these people do it. Richard is not legal advice. Even with his shitty jokes, he's still out there telling them. You can't even shut him down from telling his shitty jokes. That's the type of guy he is. All right? But he keeps coming at us. He's trying, and he's working hard. Everyone else surrounded by this, I'm with you. I do believe things are big are going to happen in both these names. I just can't tell you the time. If you think companies are sitting around not doing nothing and just waiting for the stocks to go, I think you all got it completely wrong. All right? There's things going on behind the scenes that I don't know what's going on, but I'm sure that there are many things going on. Because I followed these guys for a long time, and they're making things happen. They teamed up with Universe for a reason. They put up a $300 million, what do you call it? Was it S3, where they can raise money up to $300 million? When these stocks explode, they can raise money anytime they like. GameStop didn't do that. AMC didn't do that. All right? You have to be ahead of the curve. Anybody who has a small company, make sure they get the filing, take the hit now. So when your stocks do go, you can raise money from it, like that VVOS, where'd it go? Went to $50 the other day, back to 15. They should have been raising money. The company should have been out there selling 1 million shares at $40. That's how you raise big money. So when it goes back to 15, everyone had an opportunity to sell. The company raised money, but they did not have anything in place. All right, that's the most important thing. You have to get these things in place before, and they didn't do it. All right, so what was I going to say? Hold on a second. It's texting me. I don't have access to any questions. Listen, people, the same questions, I can't answer the timing. MMTLP, if you don't think that something's coming out of that thing, you're out of your bird. All right? If you think that there's nothing coming out of here, go make a deal. Go on Twitter, offer your stock. Someone will buy it in a private transaction, I'm sure. All right? I'm sure someone will take your stock at the closing price. You know, they'll make it. If you want your money out, get out. Someone will buy it. But we can't tell you what day it's going to happen. you have senators. Every day I see a new senator writing a letter to the SEC demanding answers. How long do you think they're going to hide? When these people do this, what they've done cannot be undone. All right, the SEC, FINRA, they're trapped. They're trying to figure out what they have to say. I don't know why they're dragging it on, because it's only making it worse. They're trying to wear out, I guess, the MMTLP crowd. That's what they try to do. That's what they're trying to do in Finger Motion or GTII. They try to wear us out, but we're not going away. All right? There's more people that could buy a stock than anyone. No one's going to sit here and short these names unless it's just one person who's in the group, whether it's GTII with the Kramers and Alpine or Finger Motion with Lynn Partners and their offshore buddies. No one else is jumping into these names. It's the same two groups that are tied into these names. That's it. They're trapped. They can't get out. They can write all the short and distort stories they want. At the end of the day, it's stock settlement. We reach up to law enforcement. I'm telling you, law enforcement is going to come. When they get caught, they go into jail for 10 years. All right? I don't know why they continue to play, because if they get caught, they go into jail for 10 years. Losing 10 years of your life, okay, is something no one wants to have happen to them. But these guys think that selling more shares and getting a bigger stake or going on a bigger plane, or whatever the hell they're doing, spending the money. If that's what they want to make the bet on, good luck. All right? Go ask all the guys in jail who stole money. They had billions of dollars and now are in jail. All right? Think about that. These guys are going to jail. All right? So, again, I don't know the day it's going to happen, but again, I'm telling you, we're down every road that you want to be down. I've never been more confident. But I don't have $1 billion to support the stock all day. So we make our bets and we wait and look to see what happens. All right? We don't need to sit here promoting a company that's done everything right. It's right there. We don't have to promote it. It's right in front of you. Just do your homework. Stop being lazy. Do your homework. This way you don't have to ask questions all day. I'm tired of doing, listen, I answer all the questions every day, but I'm not doing it anymore. They're the same stupid questions. When's it going to go? How high is it going to go? Blah, 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 blah. Just go look at short squeezes. I believe these are Volkswagen, both of them, 1 and 1A. I'm only praying that Finger Motion goes first so that we can really pile into GTII and make that the #1 squeeze of all time. Because I think the more we can take from them at below $1, it's going to make it go 5 times higher. All right? And they're different short sellers. They're not the same people. They're different. So if one's sound asleep and GTII, Finger goes, we can pick them off. That's what we call it. You're picking off some guy who's offering stock. All right? That's what I'm hoping to happen. That's the game plan. There's nothing more. The SEC, I've said it 1,000 times. If the Finger Motion goes, people I know, we're going into GTII. Because we know this guy's short almost 450 million shares of the stock. They keep piling it on every day. They don't cover anything. They're so nutty that they're actually borrowing shares, paying a fee to borrow shares, and short at 50-cent stock. Think about that. If they're losing, if the fee's cheap and they're paying a penny a month, whatever it is, let's say 2 pennies a month. Right? 10 months, they lose 20 cents. The stock's 50 cents. The most they can make is 30. Plus all the other costs that incurred with this position. Nothing's free on Wall Street. So everything they're doing, they're showing you they're trapped. I can't stress it enough. They made every mistake possible. We need one regulator, one law enforcement, one fundamental change, and the game's over with. That's it. There's nothing else to say. All right, so I addressed everything I could possibly say. Again, Ace is doing a great job. He has these calls at night. Okay, I just can't sit there all night and hold everybody's hand. No one's holding my hand. I have a family too. All right, I'm doing my best. The only reason I didn't travel to Ace is because I wasn't feeling well. All right, but I'm getting stronger. I know people that are getting more contacts for me, and I'm going to get in that door. All right? I don't know if it's tomorrow, maybe Sunday I take off. When I go, trust me, I will break down the doors in South Korea, and we will become partners in this thing, and I will bury the U.S. and the SEC for being disgraced. I have all the information. I will show them everything that's going on here. All right? with the race for the regulators are getting there, trying to make them stop what they're doing because they're upsetting the apple cart. South Korea is not stupid. They know what they're doing. All right? They're looking to protect their investors. And what do they say? Oh, because it's a political thing. What about they're doing everything to get them to stop. But the most important thing is they got it down. We want to protect the companies. It's good for the growth of Korea, South Korea. It's all right there. They're saying all the right things. Our regulators are saying nothing. They got their heads in a shell like a turtle. It's like a turtle. All right? I don't know why they're all hiding. We need this for the growth of the country, create jobs, and they could care less. People get sick, die of cancer. I put up yesterday a doctor, a very famous doctor, got cancer, and he's taking an experimental treatment to save his life, brain cancer. Put it up yesterday. You want to be that guy? No, people need to, doctors, need to experiment to find drugs. These guys are shutting it all down. I put a picture of a young boy who's cancer-free today. All right? How long before I hit someone in your family? That's why you're fighting back. I keep telling you, you think it's about money. They're killing companies that can save your life. It's not a joke. I have 14,000 people follow me. It should be 14 million people fighting back. They're stealing your money. They're killing your family. They're stealing your money, and no one seems to care. Right? Again, I appreciate everybody that's in this fight, but anything you can do to help keep it going, fight stronger, fight harder. Tell a friend. If you know a doctor, speak up. Somebody. Look at Dr. Aziz, the famous oncology surgeon, fighting every day to save people's lives that are dying. I mean, while their hedge funds are stealing his money, couldn't care less. Wall Street allows them to do it. Except when it's your turn and you need a guy like that. Watch how fast everyone starts crying. Save me, right? That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you now, if you don't pick up your, get in the game and start fighting back, you don't need me to tell you. You know the rules of engagement here. Expose them, retweet it. That's all you have to do. Call the SEC up, complain. You see it every day. Pick a stock. You don't have to be anything I'm following, pick your own. But they get you back because someone's family member is going to get sick one day. You're going to need help. And the people that were working on the cure were shut down and forced out of business because of naked short selling. They didn't have enough money. Look at CELU, a spin-off of Biogen. That was a big-time company. Stock's 21 cents. I was in the guy's office. He works on infectious diseases, creating things that can save people's lives. The stock's 21 cents. What is he going to create with a 21-cent stock? Right? He's going to have to reverse it, kill all his investors, and start the ball game over again. That's what's going to happen here. That's what happened to MULN. How are you going to build a car when your stock is 18 cents? They need money. They need capital. They keep trying to do everything. The guy's trying to stay alive. He's hiring lawyers. Everything you can do. And everybody keeps pointing the fingers at the companies. Oh, they're diluting. They're doing this. You think the company has nothing better to do than shoot itself? They're being attacked. This is the only thing they can do. How does the SEC or the DTC allowing, unsettled trades kill their companies? That's what's going on. Anyway, just wanted to touch base with everybody. The weather's cold outside. There's nothing to do. You're all sitting here watching the same thing. It's coming into the holiday season. When you least expect it, be aware that these companies are not sound asleep and they're doing things. That I can assure you. What day it comes out, I don't know. What they're doing, I don't know. But I can assure you that these companies know what we see, they know. The opportunity to change the lives of everyone and their family members by creating a short squeeze. What will ignite the short squeeze? Well, someone should write a book. What will ignite the short squeeze in real time? Well, when someone gets the silver bullet, it'll be announced, and that'll be the end of it. Right? Like that BDOS, it went from $5 to 50 in one day. Right? They short it back down. That's the short squeeze, and every day it'll just keep grinding because the longs were not buying this stock into the run. Those were shorts trying to cover. It was shorts and new shorts selling into it. Who was shorting it on the run up? Well, the only person that could do that would be Ken Griffin or the guy from Virtue, because they have all the money. And no one asked them for delivery. So when the stock starts screaming, they start shorting more. They shorted that. So again, it doesn't stop a short squeeze, but someone's taking advantage of it when it does collapse and comes back to earth, right? That's what stops. Finger motion, I'm expecting big things shortly. What is it? I don't know. But I think the game is going to get hot, and I'm ready for it. So whatever day comes, I'm prepared. Anyway, everyone, have a great day. I don't want to keep everybody for 10 hours. And like I said, the questions, they're the same questions. Do your homework. You can answer your own question. All right? Everyone, have a great day. Thank you.
So he didn't ask me to join him. He just did it through his call service. And I think you heard why. He's maybe tired, maybe just trying to pull back a little. He's tired of the questions, maybe, you know. I understand it. That guy worked on an institutional desk, trading desk. His conversations each day were no longer on the phone, probably weren't any longer than, you know, I've got 150,000 shares of Exxon to sell. I can do it at, 58 and an eighth. Do you have interest? No. Click. And then it goes on to the next. So anyway, yesterday I this all went kaflooey and I had to sign off. I wasn't ready to come on yet for this call. But what I'd like to do, I guess, over the next few days is talk about some of these stocks that you guys like. I understand the gentleman yesterday asked the question, David, I think, that it seemed confusing that I was trying to hop out of one and others. I'm not saying that at all. I just see the potential over the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, of being able to buy stocks on sale. One that a friend just pointed out to me, I think Wolf was down to 90 some cents and now it's up to 160. But that's a stock that when it's down, you know about it, you buy it when it's cheap. There's going to be days, and maybe the last week and maybe the last day of the year, where these stocks go down simply because of tax loss selling. And that's an opportunity to buy. Then you have the January rally, maybe it goes into February. You sell, you got a quick profit, and you put it into Finger. You put it into GTII. I don't know. There were some questions here for Ham, but it wasn't a two-way conversation. Let me just look. It's 1:30 almost. Let me see what the see what some of the quotes are. Oh, I got to sign back in. Darn it. I hate it when that happens because it takes time, but I can do it. Thank you for commenting. I couldn't tell if anyone was listening. Thank you, Ocean Sailing. I need a 12-year-old student to come do all my technology. Probably an 8-year-old could do it. 5-year-old could do it better than I can. No, David, I know you explained afterward. I wasn't trying to cast aspersions on you or your comment. I was just saying that my goal isn't to scare people out of GTII or Finger, or to say that these aren't. Whenever I listen to Ham, the thing Ham is talking about are the potential for squeezes in these two stocks. When you listen to others, even Brent the other day, a lot of people think, it's not really happening. It's algorithms. Look, the criminals lie. They're like the 5% of men that all women want to date. Those men get the choice, and then women judge all other men because of their behaviors, but they lie, they juggle. And I don't know if that's a good analogy, but the criminals lie. It's believable. And most people don't want to assume that in their circle, their professional circle, there's outright burglars, there's outright thieves, there's outright criminals. But anyway, every time I hear Ham, I want to own those stocks. I want to be in them. They're going to go. But it's been a long wait. And I want to make, I don't know if Busy's on, but I should call him. I'd love to get Arca to join us one day. I know he does it each morning. I listened briefly yesterday. I couldn't make any comments because he requires you to subscribe. So I subscribed. And then you can't make a comment for 5 minutes. And I got a phone call or something. Well, when GTI was squeezing, David, I was thinking about your comment when I was walking my dog last night. And what got me worked up, and it's still, you'll see me get worked up sometimes. You know, Ham is much more of, hey, that's yesterday. Let's go, keep going. I've got this part of me where I ruminate about what could have been. And that's not good. It's not a good characteristic. But I just think the GTII in particular, Finger too, but GTII was squeezing. And a couple of guys came in. And it's not that I disagree with Ham's assessment of one of them, which he constantly relays what a great guy this is. But I think it was clear because of the excitement and the action. This guy came in late to the game. He didn't set up his channel. He didn't generate followers of this scale. He jumped in front of the work we've done, the following we've created, and I'm not taking credit myself. And then he jumped in with this idea, COSM, and he said, Cosmo was going to change its name, therefore it's going to squeeze. Well, he either shouldn't have been giving advice because he didn't know what he was talking about, or he knew what he was talking about, and he gave that advice anyway. He said COSM is the QSIP number is changing, so it's going to squeeze. And then they said that it was 2,000% short. They said the CEO was going to go on upstream. They said the CEO wouldn't do a reverse split. But he was paid, and I'm not begrudging him getting paid. He's got kids. He puts them on. They play football. But as soon as everyone left GTII, which punctured the balloon, the pressure was on. As soon as everybody left, it fell quicker than a party dress. In bangles and curls, the party girl, her dress came undone like a Something came undone like a party dress. I can't, it's Lucinda Williams. I can't remember the lyrics right now. It's a great song though. But the point is, that frustrates me because we could have been out of GTI by now. It could have had its squeeze. But that's a year ago, and here we are trying to get it set up again. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. And life is such that it's not a laboratory. You can't prove the alternative. All I know is when Frank, Lou, and whatever the Greek CEO's name is came in, they didn't have an audience. Well, Lou did. Lou had a big audience, but they, and still does, and deservedly so. I think he's on to something with the OTC. I think he's on to something with his discussion about the dollar. I think he's probably on to something with XRP. I want to analyze that more. And he does have the vision to give advice that sort of sees around the corner. But a year ago, in the race to get to COSM, which Cosmo took $35 million out of the market. As soon as the stock went up, the Greeks sold it. It went to the shorts. Did that piss me off? Yes. Now, Frank put on his Twitter that he was upset, but I find it hard to believe he didn't know. Now, it could be he didn't know. And it could be he shouldn't have been giving advice because he didn't know what he was talking about. Those are the two alternatives. I believe when I saw his tweets, he was upset. I do believe him that Frank's fighting the shorts now. So people can be redeemed. Look at St. Paul. Look at Saint, I don't think it was Francis. Saint Augustine, maybe. He said he wanted to be moral, but not quite yet, as it related to, Yum Yum. Anyway, that's what I mean, David. In the middle of a squeeze, I don't think we should get out, and that's what happened. That's my animating, adamancy that I showed. It's because right then, I think the Greek CEO and Frank and Lou and the Kramers might have been behind it, because the Kramers were down $1 billion and their clients, but they played their cards really well. And I'm not saying it was Frank or Lou that played those cards, but it's possible the Kramers initiated with the CEO, because I don't know though, but it happened. It was so coincidental. And that CEO got 35 million out of the market, and our squeeze was gone. And I answered the same questions for a year later. Now the positive, there's always a positive. Listening to him today, he said GTII might have up 450 million shares short. Then you got to counterbalance that by what Brent said on the call Sunday, and this one gentleman I speak to frequently, it's not happening. That's what he says. And then the other, Brent said it's all algorithms. Well, I don't buy it. Look at CAUD. And this has nothing to do with those gentlemen. But how does it go from here? Look, it's up here. NASDAQ stops trading, and then it goes straight down. All year, as ASPA, it was sitting there. They could have sold it off prior to that. By the way, I think they should kick the guy from ASPA off the board. But that's my unsolicited opinion. Make a clean break, because you can't know who was the Quisling. So get rid of them all. So anyway, David, that's such a long explanation, but I was just so frustrated for you, myself, others, but it's like herding cats. Everybody on these calls, all leaders, all trailblazers, all independent thinkers, everyone here that comes on is used to fending for themselves and making decisions. So it's hard to get a group to act as a group without, saying, hey, we're going to collude together. But it's like a stampede. You want to get all the cattle going in one direction, making that decision all at once, and then the stock goes to 150. But if some of the cattle notice there's some trees over there, or a nice little grassy vale on the to the right, they maybe the stampede stops. So that's what I was really saying. I've always said, David, that you can trade on the margin. Let's say you have, making it up, you have 25,000 shares of GTII. It goes to $2. Maybe you sell 5,000 shares, and if it pulls back to 150, you buy more. You increase your position. Or maybe you sell 5,000 shares and it keeps going, but at least you have some capital. Or you take that 5,000, you go buy. I don't think anybody made money in COSM. That's the other thing that pissed me off. Everybody that gave advice to you made money in it. But I think Lou got the price early, which is fair enough. That Frank was the IR guy. Fair enough. It's all normal. And then the Greek CEO, I can't prove it, but I guarantee you he had offshore accounts, and he might have traded that stock to his own benefit. His company got funded for $30 to $35 million. And all of a sudden, these contracts, we've got contracts. We got a contract to do this. There's so many companies out there that have contracts that need funding. But they came in, hit and run, and that's what I got frustrated with, David. That's what I've got frustrated with. And am I right? Maybe not. I might not be right. I could be totally wrong. Maybe it was time just to get out of GTII, crush it because the CEO wouldn't return Lou's phone call. I don't know. But that's what I was talking about. And I'm not trying to cause bring up any old things. I'm just explaining myself. So that's why I was like, God, you got to stick with it. And then Finger recently had that same situation. It felt like everyone was ready to go, and then nothing really happened. It's not true. It went from 1.5 to 7 or 8. That was a nice move. But I don't know that there was any attack on the stock from other people this time. It's just that 3-4 months in a row, things didn't happen. There's one gentleman that used to watch this, I don't know if he still does, blames it on me. He thinks when I put up I forget what I put up. I guess I read a text message or something, and I think it was when we were live on Ace's channel. I think it was Ace. Anyway, Ace removed it, but for that brief period, I guess the Univest's name showed up, and it shouldn't have, or something like that. I don't know. He thinks I'm the one that scared Univest away. That attributes much more power to me than I think I deserve. I appreciate the belief, but I don't know. Finger and GTI have slowed down, but you listen to him today. It sounds. I wrote it down. I'm expecting big things shortly. That's what he said. I think he said it about Finger. I'm expecting big things shortly. I don't know what could be more clear than that we need to be in Finger. But anyway, David, that's such a long explanation. That's what I was thinking about. You were right. I said all that and I got worked up, but it's in that context. I think whenever you build a position, you can trade on the margin of that position, trying to increase your position, or just by being interested in other stocks. For example, a year ago, I swear, I think it was the Wednesday before the Friday they stopped trading. It might have been Tuesday, but I think it was the Wednesday and the Thursday that I finally, because I had a friend tell me to buy MMTLP at $1, at $1.50, at $2, and I thought, nah. And then finally listening to a lot of the people here, it started making a lot of sense. We studied it together, and I paid $8 for mine, like, I don't know, 7 7/8, 7 3/4 for my shares. But anyway, I recommended MMTLP as a small trade because we had the potential to see what a short squeeze actually did. But it's also a distraction, so we don't have to constantly, what's going on? What's going on? Are we there yet? Are we there then? Ma, you said we'd be there an hour ago. Why? I want to get out of the car. Just a little longer, kids. It gives you a distraction. So I don't know. Anyway, it's a long answer, David. I'm sorry it went on so long. Hey, Steve. Yeah, you can. They'd have it all set up like that, and then they'd be bored. They'd want to play something some game on their computer that I don't even know the name. Yeah, no, that's true. I know you were asking that. I thought about it afterward, and yeah, I guess in a way, my approach to Finger and GTI changed over the last couple of months because it just felt like the run up in Finger was going to pause. So I haven't been as adamant. I thought something was going to happen in June, July, August, September, October. It just, the trading in the stock, and it wasn't we who did it. It just looked like it was going to go. But then it just didn't feel that way to me. And I can't explain that to you. It doesn't, to me, feel like it's going to go in December. But when I hear ham, it makes me nervous because, wow, it really might happen. Now, I do agree with what he says, that it's going to come at a time when you don't expect it. And all of a sudden, all these squeezes happen within, say, a week or 2 weeks. And you look at the charts, it's a 2 or 3 year period. So we're trying to wait for just a blip in the timing, and it's hard to get it just right. So you got to be in it to win it, but you also get bored waiting. I do anyway. Yeah, Ham seems to think that the Secret Service is there. He clearly has been told not to talk about it. You did IT? You did IT? I might be in Georgia, no, in Alabama over the holidays. But if I'm not, I'd take you up on that. William going MGTOW. MGTOW. Well, I didn't mean to be. I'm all for being with women and dating women. Life would be boring without women, wouldn't it? But as Norm MacDonald says, it's all the yammering, all their yammering. Just kidding. Just kidding. You want me to recap what Ham said? That's my summary. I'm expecting big things shortly in Finger. He also said he's tired of answering all the same questions. NXU. All right. NXU. I'm going to write it down first. So I can follow it later. Let's see, NXU. NXU. Wow. It certainly meets the parameters of being cheap, and it meets the parameters of a potential tax loss buy. The high on the year was 1130, the low 0.0175. So it's trading at 273. Let me just see. The CEO resigned. CFO resigned. Oh, no, not CEO, CFO. Let's see what the third quarter results were. They have a shelf registration for $75 million. EV charging partner program. Okay, here's the problem, Fisherman. I think here's the problem. It doesn't mean it has to be forever, but on November 6th, they extinguished all but 100,000 of 20 million in convertible notes previously issued in conjunction with a 2022 private placements involving two investors. Two convertible notes of 10 million each, two tranches of 9 million each. The first tranche in Q4 22, second tranche in first quarter 23. They still hold warrants. The problem is, as I see it, and people don't agree, but I think once you give to a lawyer a copy of the agreement, here's the convertible note agreement, all signed. They give it to their shady lawyer. The lawyer then gives it to the prime broker, and the prime broker looks at it on behalf of a newly established LLC and says, everything's in order. Okay, stamp, approval. You can trade shares of NXU and we'll accept the orders. You can sell the stock and we'll believe you that you'll be able to deliver, albeit 6 months from now, but we're willing to look the other way. You're a big account. You give us a lot of commission, and your fails to deliver. We can wait until these conversions, these shares become available as per the notes. They're all different. Then that lawyer gives that, in my opinion, gives that same document to another prime broker on behalf of another LLC related to the criminals, and again and again and again. The main thing that the criminals want that note for isn't that they trade one for one. It's not that they're going to short counterfeit one share of stock for one convertible share in the document. They just want this here to get, number one, the approval of the prime broker, and two, it caps their losses. It's what they can use in any kind of a squeeze. It's there to protect them somewhat. What the prime broker wants is to know that the prime broker is not going to be exposed to unlimited losses. Now, there's, nothing in life is 100% risk-free, but this covers 80 to 90, 95% of the risk for the prime broker. It is my opinion, Fisherman Ape. It's my opinion. And unfortunately, if you've been trained at a law school, you can't have opinions outside of the facts. You can't have speculation outside of what's been entered into the court record. And if you don't have it, it's just speculation. If you're a CEO, you can't speculate. If you're a guy that used to work at the American Stock Exchange at the highest levels, you still believe your systems that you set up in place are there to work. They don't. The American Stock Exchange doesn't exist as it used to. NASDAQ used to be a premier stock exchange. I think these two are just, I don't think the American Stock Exchange exists at all. I think it got purchased by the NYSE. But Ham would say in the New York Stock Exchange too. I agree with Ham. But at least in the New York Stock Exchange stocks, if somebody's shorting Tesla and counterfeiting Tesla, there's just as many institutional buyers with enormous sums of money that can counteract that. They have their internal research. They have their internal financial models. They talk to the CEO. They know the industry. But down in the over-the-counter market and the NASDAQ, they're just albatross for the slaughter of the sheep. They get them into one room just to shear the wool off for a while. Then they put them in an elevator locked upside that gets an escalator that gets every steeper, and the sheep starts screaming, and then slice, cut, boom, shoom, boom. 5 minutes later, you got pork chops in the freezer truck on the way to Safeway. That's what the NASDAQ is. It's a slaughterhouse for CEOs and investors. And it's because, I think, fishermen, of what I just described. So I like this story, and I'll study it. But I think the problem is they sign toxic convertible notes. And it's the opinion of lawyers, once they close out the note, the problem stops. I don't think so. I can't prove it. But I think once this approval, the box is checked, so to speak, at multiple prime brokers, that same shady lawyer that got that done, knowing that he was going to do it or she was going to do it for several prime brokers, I don't think they ever call in and uncheck the box. And then you get your stock down to 2 cents. Remember, the goal is to get it at 0.0001. That's seller boxed. Look at RNMD, that medical one that Lou said. Hey, if you buy it at 0.002 and it goes to 3, you double your money. That was I bought some, but that was a classic. That whoever the market maker was in that Lou was talking to, Lou was either naive. I'll leave it at that. He was either naive but that hedge fund and market maker, when we went in and were buying it, that guy was making 100, 200, 300% on his money. He could buy it at 1.001, sell it to us at 0.0003 or 0.0004, and boom, that's just enormous rates of return all day long. That was fishy. That was really fishy. But that stock is seller boxed. It looks like Vocal's about to be seller boxed. I hope not. And that's what I would worry about here, NXU. And then it's like MMAT. MMAT, they got rid of the CEO who signed those deals and had all the genius of the products. But then the board coalesces around lawyers and the smiling faces from Wall Street that says, that doesn't happen. It's just algorithms. No, that doesn't happen. There's systems in place. It's not happening. Who are you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes? Or who are you going to believe? What's happening to your stock price, or my big smile that I'm here to help you? So the board listens to them, because no one on the board is a salesman or a saleswoman. They're not used to calling 100 people a day. And by the end of the day, the rejection just mounts and mounts and mounts. The tension each time you call. When you go knock on a door, I one time in London on a project, I couldn't get in to see. I kept calling, couldn't get in. So I went down and I couldn't get in. Buzzers, bzz, bzz, bing, boom, couldn't get in. But then this one was so important guy. His girl was carrying some coffee, and he opened the door, and I just went in, being American, and I rode the lift up to the third floor. I just as I got there, the door to the investment bank was open. I went in. I didn't get a meeting, but I went in. I tried. But that's the kind of stuff you have to do when you're raising money, when you're the CEO, when you're the board. But the board, just when someone comes in with a big smiling face and says, we can give you $20 million, we'll fund you, they take it. But as they said here, it was 2 tranches, which means the criminals sold stock that didn't exist, probably sold stock they didn't locate for sure, prior to the funding of the note. So that $9 million in the first tranche, criminals just sold stock that didn't exist to the tune of $9 million, probably. Each case is different. And then they give that money. It's on a VWAP, a value-weighted average price looking backwards, discounted to the lowest price. So every time the criminals sell, they're selling at higher prices, but the VWAP calculation is based off the lowest price they got the stock down to. And then they book that price 75% below the lowest price, or 25 or 50. Boom, they got that profit. They don't close it out, but they give the cash to the company. That wasn't funding. That was criminal. So anyway, my point is, though, fishermen, I don't think they're out of it just because the note's been closed. I think they're still in there. As I just, RNRV, whatever that was, there's all sorts of money to be made on a percentage basis. I mean, it's just incredible. If you look at this stock, I don't know if I have a bid and ask. I signed up for Webull just to get level 2, but it doesn't look very good. All right, so actually it's a pretty close bid and ask. It's pretty close, 0.0258 to 0.0259. It's pretty close. Anyway, I'm not trying to be negative, fisherman. That's just my first reaction to why the stock price is down here. It's a positive they paid it off. I don't think it solves the issue right away, but it's certainly better than having it out there. If I were their lawyer, I would contact every prime broker and just in a blanket letter and make it clear to the prime brokers, this note's gone. So if for some reason you believe it's out there, the risks on you. And then maybe those prime brokers would tell the criminal shorts, you got to cover. That would be something. Let me just look at the earnings. It's an EV charging and energy storage solution. Anything to do with energy storage is a massive wave of the future. But my guess is, fishermen, just like the internet, just like the Bitcoin type coins, you have a run up and then they get crushed. So be careful of that. I think electric vehicles, until there's a battery created that's efficient and powerful and repeatable, and there's a standard. And that's one reason I think Tesla is probably a great company, because they're and then MMAT has that technology. Can't remember how it's described, but it goes in the battery to prevent the batteries from blowing up and going on fire. Huge. And they're state of the art technology. But I don't think electric vehicles are the future. I actually think it's going to be combustion engines using ammonia instead of gasoline, because you can produce ammonia from water, seawater, and we've got a lot of water on Earth. That's what I think. The other thing is, I think people, particularly young guys like yourself, are going to live in walking and short rides. People are going to live in communities that are dense, and then to get between those communities, what I would recommend, instead of all the war, is we should build high-speed trains and water routes, and then we just commute on those longer distances in a more energy efficient way. So anyway, automobiles maybe will be electric in the local community. Wow. Moo. Well, I forgot about Moo. I think Moo, Weeble, and Robin Hood, they don't really give you stock. It's just blatant. It's not necessarily counterfeiting, but it's the blatant expansion of the amount of shares out there. They call it fractional and all that, but yes, absolutely. I think they're in cahoots. The regulators it's self-regulatory organizations. This is something that really was sold on the American people by Bill Clinton, and he's an effective salesman. But it existed before him and after him. But the idea is, and it was his Rubin who argued that, financial institutions will not put themselves at risk. That's all crap. It's all crap. Well, that's one thing. Also, the regulators want jobs at the big law firms and the big hedge funds, so they don't go after them. I think PS 71, there's a manner in the United States right now that the highest level people in the government, shadow governments, what I mean by that is the Hillary Clinton types, maybe it's Donald Trump. I'm not trying to pick a political fight. But people that are out of office right now, but used to be in office, is all I'm saying. The top regulators, the banks, the wealthy, I think right now they're just lining their pockets, feathering their nest, looting on just a grand scale before everything collapses, because without making any arguments, one side or the other, what's going on in the Middle East and in the Ukraine, those two places, and I think soon will start in Iran and China, we're losing. We're losing the hearts and minds of the rest of the world. I listened to a general last night when I couldn't sleep, and his thought I couldn't believe his thought. He's an older guy, American. He said, look at it from the Middle Eastern perspective. Who in this case, who is attacking? In his example, I'm not trying to bring up a fight, but in his example, who is attacking the Palestinians? And he's like me. He said, look at it. The people ordering the attacks, the people on the screens, they're lily white skin out of America. The ones out of NATO, lily white skin. Out of Israel, lily white skin. I'm not much for breaking life down into racial differences, because it's just one metric, and as far as I can tell, this is black and this is white. I'm not white, and I've never met anyone who's black, so I just think we're all shades of the same is it melanonin? Anyway, the same dye that sets up our skin. And anyway, but imagine if you're in the Middle East, you're young, you're not one of the older generation, your skin's a little darker. And like I say, it doesn't matter. But you're wondering it's 2:11. I don't have to, I'll call that back. Anyway, and then when you add to it, we have aircraft carriers off the coast that we have to keep so far back because the weaponry that now exists can sink them. Where are we going to, I believe we want to attack Iran, but where are we going to do it from? We don't have Afghanistan anymore. Are we going to do it from Israel? Are we going to do it from our aircraft carriers? I don't know. But the biggest thing is that, and I'm way off track on this, is the UAE. Although I haven't spoken to him recently, but one of my friends who I value like a brother, but I feel so privileged to have as a friend, just a great, great guy, he's an Emirati, and he knows what he's talking about. And he told me that the UAE would never go off the dollar standard, and they would never sell oil. This is years ago. Never sell oil in anything but the dollar. Bill, we're never going to do it, Bill. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, well, UAE just announced they're selling oil in local currencies. I don't think the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is much impressed with the constancy displayed by the American promises and military. Russia is powerful. Russia has a dynamic, strong, I'd call it, they're going to have an American century. They have all the energy they need. They have an educated population. They work hard, drink. They're not picking wars. Well, you're going to debate that. But on the large part, they're not picking wars with their neighbors. They didn't want NATO to come so close. And they have oil to export and natural gas. And they have military weaponry. Their hypersonic missiles, I think they fly at 5 or 6 times, maybe 7 times the speed of sound. We don't have a way of shooting those down. We don't have a method to do it. I think it makes aircraft carriers obsolete. Then they have these SS something or other trucks that have 20 or 40 missiles on them. They can shoot, or 200. They can all be shot out all at the same time. They can take down cruise missiles, jet aircraft, tanks, incoming other missiles. And we have no defense against that. But the Soviets were spending money on high technology while the little Popinjay president and his new American century neocons decided to spend trillions of dollars putting American lives, soldiers, arms, eyes, and families at risk, bombing deserts, assaulting mountains, spreading democracy to the tune of trillions of dollars. What happened to education in the United States? What's happened to our roads? You go to New York City, you might as well be in a third world country as you're driving to the airport. In Dubai, it's like heaven. I haven't had the privilege, I was invited, but I haven't had the privilege to be in China, but everything's modern and smooth. You go to España, Spain it's brilliant, clean. You get on a train, it's going 220 kilometers per mile. You feel like you're sitting in your living room. You go on a Sella from New York to DC, back and forth. You wonder as you're walking back to get a cup of coffee if you're going to spill the coffee on the person sitting down in front of you, because we squandered trillions of dollars. But the Soviets focused on weapons. Well, I think Mohammed bin, anyway, MBS knows that. He sees it. China focused on economics. China focused on trade. China focused on the ring belt while we were bombing and bombing and bombing. And it went under the Popinjay. It went under Folks. It pretty much slowed down. But he dropped the mother of all bombs for some reason. Maybe because his hands were small. Trump, it slowed down under, but it ramped right up again under Biden. So this has been war, but it squanders the money. There's no velocity of that money. Very limited. And it's made wealth to the banks and to the arms side. And it's turning populations against the United States. So anyway, I think the regulators and the government and the banksters know that the United States, they call it hegemony, but the United States financial system, the privileged, as Giscard d'Estaing said, or was it the general? He said the United States dollar has exorbitant privilege. That's going away. And then we're going to be a country in the world, and that's fine. We'll still be fine. But it's not going to be, we're not going to be able to project our power to kill anyone that's not just like us. And I'm worried that if war comes to the Middle East, not only will oil be priced and other things, will our financial system go down. I don't think our two oceans are going to protect us this time. It's going to affect our lives. So anyway, PS 71, I do think the shorts, I do think the regulators, I do think the government, I do think politicians, I do think elites in the United States are pillaging all of us as rapidly as they can. In the Ukraine, the Ukraine is a giant washing machine of US dollars. Why do you think allegedly one of the recent president's son got payments from Ukraine and then paid his father those payments every month? Why do politicians go there? Do they use the diplomatic pouch to put cash in and bring it home? The whole government is corrupt in the United States. I happen to believe the magnitude and the brazenness of the corruption goes to the Clinton Foundation and in general, and specifically to the $10 billion which the Clintons raised for Haiti. And the people in Haiti still live in abject poverty. And remember, they don't have this, but those are Democrats doing it, the Clintons, plantation owners. Anyway, I think we're being ripped off, and I think they're scrambling to get money out. I don't think the regulators have any intention to enforce the rules because the stealing is on such a scale. They just want to get the cash out, turn it into land in New Zealand, Mozambique, Timbuktu, turn it into houses and cars. Look at Zelensky. He's a billionaire, a multi-billionaire. How? What did he ever develop? What was his genius? It's monies from the US Treasury. It's from you, the taxpayer. Anyway, that's my answer. Yes, they're in cahoots. What's the impact of day trading? Is there any way trading can be explained with limited float? Well, according to Brent's son, all of this is algorithms. Now, what happened with Logic stock, and I received a letter from a lawyer saying that Ionic does not short stock. I think the lawyer needs to examine the definition of shorting. But, he's going to, by writing that, he can go in front of a judge and argue, well, they're not. And then the other side will have to argue to the judge, well, yes, they are. And then it'll go through 9 months. The judge will rule that they are, but that the lawyer who wrote the letter didn't really understand it. So there wasn't any intent. But the guy went to Harvard. He's not an idiot, or wherever he went, but whatever. I think there's two explanations for this. Oh, it's upside down. Look at all that volume. There weren't any shares trading. There's only two explanations. The one that Brent gave, which I think he sincerely believes, and he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. The gentleman that worked at the American Stock Exchange believes, which is that the FINRA numbers, all of this volume is just computers trading against themselves. So even though there's only, at the beginning of that trading, there were no shares available to trade. But even now, it's probably only 1 million shares that might be in the float. 30 million shares have traded since this started just 2 or 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. 30 million shares. Well, their argument is good clients can sell stock that doesn't exist, and that shows up in the FINRA numbers. But then that same good client can buy it back at the during the day, and that doesn't show up. And those pennies of profit they make, that's the volume. You sell it at $5, you buy it back at $4.75. You sell it again at $4.70, and you buy it back at $4.50, and it drives it down. But the FINRA numbers don't show the buybacks. Well, you call it day trading. It's still counterfeiting. They're selling stock that doesn't exist. They're selling stock they didn't locate. I can't find that. Here it is. The SEC. The SEC filing against Hal D. Mintz. I read from page 2 the last time. I'll try to read from page 3. they use their violative sales to deflate the price artificially, made false statements to broker-dealers. Defendants in some instances would acquire the required stock after the short sales. Rules require a short seller to locate a stock prior to a short sale. You got to locate it prior to the short sale. So what these, as you referred to them, day traders, I just think there's thieves. What they do, they sell stock that doesn't exist. And then as they pressure the stock downward, they buy it back, they make a profit. And this apparently is okay with lawyers and boards and CEOs and regulators because they're good clients. They always pay us. They've never left us with a loss. And the commissions are so great. So we let them sell stock, phantom stock that doesn't exist. They buy it back the same day. That's okay. It's a cleansing process. Cleanse that from 38 down to under 2. It's good for the markets, and they're just helping out, and they're just, they're providing liquidity, but they're breaking the law. In this case, they sold stock they could not locate. It didn't exist. Stock did not exist. There was no way to locate it. They sold shares short when they knew or were reckless in not knowing they had not borrowed or located the shares. It's against the rules. Defendants had not located the shares and failed to comply with the locate requirements of Reg Show. So anyway, that's one way. That's what Brent described. That's the guy I know from the American Stock Exchange, is that, and this is what Ionic did. I mean, it's a different version, but Ionic would trade around the stock price all day long. They'd short it, and then they buy it back for pennies. And this is all allowed. This is what goes on in our markets. Corporations, the stock float of corporations are allowed to be treated like pork bellies or orange juice. You remember that scene in Trading Places? Now this is bacon. This is orange juice. And Eddie Murphy looks up at the camera. It's a brilliant scene. But they trade all this, and it's okay. The other way, which is what I think happens, is, and I don't have that right here to show you, but remember the report with the toad on front of it? The Ansom funds. You can Google Ansom, ANSOM. They just counterfeit shares. They just sell shares that don't exist. According to that report, one exchange, $27 trillion worth, $27 trillion worth of stock sold in these electronic pipes. There's no way they know the customer. There's no locate. There's no borrow, nothing in writing. And the market makers take the order and it destroys the stock prices. So the answer to your question is they just commit fraud on a scale that the smash and grabs down at Rite Aid or at Dwayne Reed or at, you see it on TV at Nordstrom's. These guys steal on a magnitude that you can't believe, and everyone looks the other way. They call them day traders. They're not. They're smash and grabbers. And if you want day traders, they should locate the stock first. You have to put up money first to buy. They should get rid of they should bring back the uptick rule. Bring back the uptick rule. I think they should get rid of high frequency trading for, I don't know, any company under $10 billion market cap, and have a corrective period if it falls below. Don't make it immediate. I mean, in other words, if you were a 10 billion market cap company and they drive you under it, you're exempt from the rule, or I guess you'd have to do it the other way around. If you were a $9 billion company and you went over 10 billion, you still are exempt from high frequency trading for a period of time. So you can get your feet on the ground as a bigger company. But they got to get rid of high frequency trading. I think they have to really enforce the know your customer rule. You cannot accept orders as a market maker that just come in at volume. You don't know who the hell's selling. You can't know. Also, they should get rid of the market makers in the period of computers. You don't need them. And they should settle the trades. They should just arrest one person, put him in jail, and the rest of the street will self-regulate. I can't remember my analogy, obviously. Oh, you made. Well, that's good, Dadif. If you didn't leave GTII, you made money on COSM. I don't know how. You're one of the ones that got in early. That's great, and that's okay with me. It's just that a lot of people, the specific advice was, Dadif, the specific advice was sell GTII. There's something wrong there. The CEO won't talk to me. And they're not on upstream yet. And we can get out of GTII and we'll get into COSM. It's going to 80 or whatever the hell number. And then we can come back and buy GTI. That was the advice. I'm glad you made money, and that's good. Oh, WDHI. Yeah, I listened. I want to talk to you guys. It's 2:30. I'm going to probably get off the phone. I'm going to get off of this call at 3 o'clock. But I want to talk to you guys about WDHI and about HNRC. Did I print any of that out? I don't know if I did. But anyway, PS71, WDHI, two things about it. It looks like it is going to be free to trade in December, number one. Unfortunately, everybody can sell at the same time, so I think that'll have the price going down. But to counteract that, apparently they have several transactions, companies that they're going to roll into WDHI at the same time. So I'm hopeful. There's not a particularly large short in that stock. And I don't know if Frank Christian or if it's HNRC, I can't remember, but there's a large ownership, like 17% of it by, and it might be Ludwig. Anyway, the incentive on the part of Frank and HNRC is to make sure that stock goes up. So I think they're going to be careful. It's the SEC has to approve the trading. I think it's the regulators. once that's trading, the quiet period's off, and they can talk about the other revenues that they're bringing in. Remember, they do AI, they do telecommunications. One thing I remember reading about is their artificial intelligence helps you order hamburgers at Fred's or Jack in the Box or something like that. So it's an interesting story. The other thing I want to point out to you on HNRC is he sold the water treatment and the remediation business that was part of Houston Natural Resources. He sold it, and he made 15 cents a share. 15 cents a share on that sale. At the beginning of his interview, it's clear he intends to distribute 15 cents a share as a dividend. In the middle of his presentation, it's clear that he intends to distribute 15 cents in cash a share to shareholders. In the question and answer period, he was asked about it, and he said, we're working on the dividend. We haven't decided if it's going to be cash or stock yet. And we're not, and basically left the timing, left it to believe it might not be December, it might be later. But my point is on HNRC, stock's trading at 3.7. It's trading at 4 cents. If he distributes and announces he's distributing 15 cents cash, or half of that, or a quarter of that, the stock's going up. If it's a stock dividend, I'm not as excited, but and in the question and answer period, he said that could take 6 months, just like WDHI. He didn't say just, I'm saying that part. So if it's a stock distribution, I'm not as excited, but I would give it more than 50% chance that it's cash. I've tried to contact him. I'd love him to come on and talk to all of us, but I haven't. I'm sure he gets a lot of people contacting him. The final thing I'll say about HNRC, I was looking at WDHI through the documents, and then I looked at their Pogo acquisition. They own 40%, or they're in the middle of acquiring 40% of Pogo Energy, which a company I remember. But like all the oil and gas companies, the criminals destroyed them. Anyway, in the document, one of the documents, I'll print it out and I'll show you. It said Benchmark International. Well, Benchmark is who introduced Finger to the Lynn Partners. Benchmark just facilitates bringing CEOs into the smiling face of Jeff Easton and Sam Chung and Hai Lee Kim and Philip Vallier and John Hancock. And then they smile, shake hands, and boom, the next thing you know, the stock's destroyed. So I thought, oh my God, Benchmark, this is a warning signal. And then further in the document, it said they raised, I think, $10 million. I could be wrong on that amount, from E.F. Hutton. Well, E.F. Hutton's an old firm, but there's a young firm on Wall Street that bought the name out of bankruptcy and the slogan too. So I looked it up, and the website looks just like any of these smiling faces. But then I looked at the deals they did, and the deals they did are a lot bigger than Lynn Partners, a lot bigger than Power Up Lending. And I thought, maybe. So I asked somebody, I'm not going to use his name, but somebody who I respect and is in this business, knows short sellers, knows criminal counterfeiters, dilutive financing, toxic debt. And I asked him about it. And he said, no, I know these guys. They're good. They're above board. So I think HNRC makes. We'll try to talk about WDHI. I don't know if there's something on the horizon coming for Finger or GTII. I believe that when you file a shelf registration for 300 million and you have a sub filing for 25 million, you're not doing that because you're paying attorneys. You're not doing that just to be an egoist. You're doing it because you intend to do something. If I had to guess, Mexican, and it's a pure guess, I think Finger is going to raise money, maybe with Univest, maybe with somebody else, maybe it's 25 million to buy a company. That's my speculation, pure speculation. I think for Finger Motion, on the horizon is tremendous earnings. They've gone earnings positive this quarter. I think you're going to see growth that you can't believe. That's on the horizon. I think the monetization of their insurance data arm, Sapientus, is in the second stage. It's in the monetization stage. They're working with Munich Re, Pacific Re. I think that's going to be huge. I think the Apple Care, as China built out 5G in each of its provinces while we were bombing deserts and assaulting mountains with trillions of dollars, they're building out their infrastructure. The rollout of 5G phones is mandated that when you buy you've got to replace your phone with 5G. When you do, you've got to buy Apple Care. This is going to be huge. That's happening now. That's on the horizon for Finger Motion. The revenues that they have in their top-up business, their rich text messaging, those are going to on-go. Good news there is on the horizon. The toll booth that they have to the online shopping centers like Tmall that they earn money on, those earnings, now that China's come out of its slumber from COVID lockdown, that's on the horizon. I don't know what else to tell you. The Netflix of China, of Southeast Asia that they purchased. Perhaps they're buying a company that merges into that. Perhaps they're expanding into Southeast Asia, which is the bailiwick of Univest. I don't know, Mexican. I can't keep you sated with news. Why? Because anything that's material information, private information, if I knew it, I wouldn't share it. If they have it, they're not going to tell it to me. So I'm just reading the tea leaves there. In the case of GTII, you've still got the FBI out there. You've got the Secret Service looking at it. Those could come when? I don't know. But when does a volcano erupt? You've got the potential of Trento Mines. I don't know. I'm starting to lose my belief that Trento Mines is going to follow through on it. But these big international deals take time. Maybe that comes. You've got the AI company, the artificial intelligence company that they bought. Is that a for real deal? I heard that they're opening 6 or 7 million accounts a month or something like that, or they're making 6 or 7 million. I don't know. Rumors. But if that becomes big, that is big. But the biggest thing that'll happen with GTII is if and when, which I think will happen, Finger runs, money is going to come into GTII. It's going to make the price go back up. You've got the restricted shares. This time, if it goes to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I hope there's not a new person that comes in front of all of our excitement and says, hey, go buy this company. It's got contracts. It's 20 cents. It's going to go to the moon, and it goes to 84 cents. And then immediately they do a deal with the shorts at 33 cents, and then it all collapses. Some people made money, but the real person that made money was the company. I hope that doesn't happen again. But when Finger runs, the profits are probably going to come into GTII. As the price of GTII goes up, it causes Alpine Securities and other brokerage houses to be suffering cash losses, negative balances on their accounts, possibly to the tune of billions of dollars. Then you have buy-ins. That, my friend, is on the horizon. It's all my opinion. It's a projection, not a promise. I think so. Yeah, maybe people didn't pull out of GTI. Quite a few did. That was the specific recommendation. But anyway, the good news is at that time, the short was like 150 million. It's much bigger now. And I think we're all better educated now. I bring it up, though, because of the specific question I was asked. I'm not trying to open a scar and pour a wound and pour salt in it. That's what I think, Ramon. Well, there's no I in team, but there is an am. So maybe it's I am. That's great. Oh, you were early in COSM. I'm glad you made money in it. That's true. They totally screwed him. It's so unfair. So unfair. I'll try to go through these quickly. Yeah, I think that ham is for that reason. GTI dividend when? Jay. GTII issued a special dividend of that dog, Shiba Inu coins. The SEC disallowed it. They issued a special dividend of whatever the blockchain company they bought. There was going to be a special. The regulators disallowed it. So then they issued a warrant as a special dividend that had to go through the exchange agents. That got through. And I think it was causing a squeeze. Fidelity was paying 1,000% to borrow stock. Wells Fargo took away the buy button. This is a year ago. And other brokerage firms were slow walking it. Well, then, as we've discussed, enough people decided to leave. The bubble was burst. So what did GTII do, ever trying to cause a reckoning? They issued 1 share of common restricted to you, Jay, for free. You didn't have to pay for it, for every 10 shares you have. Did they do that so that Jay could trade that stock and make a quick 50 cents? No. They did it because they issued it as a special dividend, and it required going through the transfer agent, just like the special dividend warrant. The whole point, Jay, was try to trap the system, the broker-dealers again, and force the broker-dealers to buy real stock to put in Jay's account that is full of fake shares. Or they could just join in on the fraud, and West Christian is there to catch them at it. That's the whole gamut. I've told you before, Jay, I'll follow up. I will ask the company. They already put out a letter, a blanket letter, removing the legend. So the restriction should be easy as this to leave, take off. But the fact is your brokerage firm doesn't have enough shares. It's all counterfeit. They cannot deliver the dividend to you. It's not GTII. It's the criminals. So I'll ask GTII if they will kindly issue 40 million shares with no charge, no cost, deliver those 40 million shares to the broker dealers so that you can get your dividend. And then you can trade it. Of course, the short squeeze will be over with and the criminals will be off the hook, but you'll be able to get your shares. Dreamland Ribs, Roll Tide. 6 million financing. Yeah, let me write it down. Let me get through some more of these questions first, because I'm gonna have to hang up. Maybe I can go to 3:30. Yeah. Well, there you go again. Hey, Robert, how are you? I wish I could contact you because I need some sanity in this sea of accountancy, or whatever Monty Python called it. I do like Jimmy Dore very much, very, very much. I'm not sure I like his one sidekick, but I like Jimmy Dore very much. I think he's a truth teller. You know, people can get hyped up a little bit that I think he spit at Cenk. But I used to like the Young Turks. I don't listen to them at all. Anna Kasparian put the money into her nose, and I think she's a toxic nightmare. And Cenk, I guess, raised $20 million from hedge funds. So I don't think he's unbiased anymore. But I do like Jimmy Dore. He says he's a pothead, although I think he quit. I'm not a big fan of drugs, but whatever. RNVA 0.00001. And if it trades at 0.000002, it's 100%. But if it goes to zero, it's just nightmare. Not legal advice. Reports of insider shorting Israeli shocks. Israelis are not light-skinned. Well, some are. The ones from Brooklyn. The ones from Brooklyn are. I don't know. Netanyahu doesn't look. I don't know. That's the problem. What is dark-skinned? What is light-skinned? I don't know. Melanin. All right. I haven't heard of Hannibal Detective, but I do agree with you. The news abroad is much better. Anarcho-text. Okay. We do not have an announced method deal with those missiles. That's a good point. See, lawyers are much more precise. Yeah, that we might have a way. And my dad told me before he died, don't worry about it. We've got it. And a friend of mine who would know, and he's retired now, but he was very high in the government. He said, don't worry about it. But I am worried about it because I think if they were to sink one of our aircraft carriers, overnight, it would be a tough thing. But I hope you're right. Just because I don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Russians in Afghanistan and Grozny was not peace. That's true. The Soviets are not saints at all. At all. Well, we have these lasers. I don't know. I don't agree with you, Mike. I think the missiles that Russia has made are amazing. China's, I agree with you. Oh, you know it? Okay, let me read. I'll read Mike's point. USA has weapons you have never seen or even thought of. This is not a false statement either. Russia has some of the best missiles in the world, but their guidance systems are lacking, just like their aircraft. Yeah, have you ever flown on Aeroflot? I have. I have flown on Aeroflot. Okay, that's good to know. I'm tired of the corruption. Well, part of it, Dadif, is we need to have war so we can easily expand our debt, which goes to the banks and the banksters, but it also continues our debt-based system, and it ever has to grow. But in any closed system that's slowly growing, you reach this hockey stick period where it just grows exponentially and it's not sustainable. I think we're almost there, if not are there, for our paper-based, debt-based economy. China defense budget 220 billion. We have a massive defense budget, but how much we have? Something like hundreds, if not, we have a lot of 4-star generals. In World War II, what did we have? 3, 1, and we have a lot of costs in our budget that are not necessarily cutting edge expenditures, but wow, that is encouraging. Mark Maddox, I believe the Ukrainians were successful in shooting down a Russian hypersonic missile with the US Patriot. That is great news. I didn't know that. I'm here to, Mike Mishler, I'm here to tell you this. USA could take on the entire world in a war and we would win. We would win it. It wouldn't be close. I hope it doesn't mean nuclear weapons, because there's no way to win that. I hope we're never tested, Mike. I'm glad to hear it, and you and not legal advice. I'm glad to hear it. I'm not a weapons expert. I just read news and I don't have the news sources ever since the New York Times and the Washington Post were purchased by billionaires and have been taken over by woke newsrooms, and the news you read is opinion, not news, on the front page anyway. I don't read them anymore, but I do try to keep up. I used to read 5 to 7 newspapers a day. It's harder to do now. I read the Daily Hate, the Daily Mail, but it's not great. New York Post. I sometimes get into the Israeli Post, Jerusalem Post. I sometimes read the Russian news, try to get British news. I look at some of the Gulf newspapers too, but I just find it inadequate. I don't think the journalists the journalism profession is well represented anymore in the United States. They would go, St. Thomas, and one of my ideas that I intend to put to the SEC in a letter, and I don't get all these letters written in time. Why don't they make it illegal for CEOs to sign toxic notes? Then the SEC would go after it, because the SEC is trained to go after CEOs. They're not trained to go after the criminals on Wall Street. I don't know when we're going to listen to Ham today. It sounds like Ham's going by himself as soon as Sunday. So maybe I'm not going. China could implode for reasons other than what you state. It could be just farmland, water, lack of energy. I think China did build out a modern society. I do agree that China's financial system is, as you described, potentially. But remember, they also took or bought a lot of our technology, a lot of our patents. The other thing that's affecting China, though, is there's cheaper places to go now. Well, that might change as the world changes. We're on the verge of massive change in the world. But prior to this, whatever's going on now, places like Vietnam, Thailand, India, Malaysia, other places, and I might be misstating the exact ones, could produce goods cheaper than China, but if it involved human beings. But they got the robots, they've got it all. They also are communist, Russia's economy is absolutely horrid as well. No one would do business with them. The sanctions are speeding our own destruction. Russia plays ball very well with China, Iran, Saudi now. The only place that doesn't see it is NATO and the United States. I agree with your statement. Who would want to do business? Who would trust it? That's why the United States still is a great country. Because if you suddenly had $1 million, would you put it in Russia or would you put it here? Would you put it in China or would you put it here? All right, I don't know about any. Let me look up any, but not now. I want to get to the bottom here. Yeah, it could be AI. Let's look at vocal. I like Jeremy very much. And I think he's hardworking, he's smart. I think he's honest. Buying dips and selling rips. Look, I think if it's a human being doing it, that's fair. As long as he has to locate the stock before he sells it, he has to put up cash before he buys it. That's a level playing field. But how many of you own high frequency computers that get data? Did you read Flash Boys? That get data like Ken Griffin does. He puts up a light tower at a whatever you call it. Anyway, I can't think of the term, but to get the information that goes through the airwaves, a split nanosecond sooner than the tower right next to it. It's not fair. Bets. All right, I'm going to make this list. ARCA predicting ARCA predicting 0 or mother of all squeezes. I don't know which stock you're talking about, but I like ARCA very much, and Avid does a great job. Here on this screen, US 1 Tahoe also is a good, technician. Have any U.S. brokers platforms delivered GTI? I've answered that ad infinitum. I'm glad they're not being delivered. The whole point is to try to cause the system to gum up. The whole point is to try to make the back office officers put in, hey, Alpine, you told us you were going to deliver these shares 9 months ago. We need to deliver this dividend. When are you going to deliver? You said you located them. Well, we'll do it next week. No. We need them tomorrow or we're buying you in. That's what you want to happen. And then you get a short squeeze. Well, a Garmin motorcycle on their advanced planes. I didn't say much about their planes. I was talking about their missiles. Well, it's hard to say the United States won in Afghanistan. It's really hard to say that. Korea, look, if I'm invited, I intend to go with Ham. That I was going to go. Problem is, as we get closer to the holidays, it'll be hard for me to find a place to put my dog. But I don't know when. Ham doesn't quit. He works. He pushes ahead like he plays pickleball. So I think it would be fairly quickly for meetings, but I would guess it's going to take a lot of government and industry approval, but we'll find out. All right, I don't know what that is. I used to have a guy at Merrill who would look at a chart like this, and he'd just stand up and he says, well, looks like the stock's not going below, because not all charts end at 0. Well, it can't go below 4. And he'd point out, that's the bottom of the page. No, I don't think it can go below 0. I mean, you can lose more than your original investment. But oil prices went below 0, so I suppose if they turn it into a trading vehicle, it could. Yeah, but Ham has an amazing, Ham has amazing patience. But yeah, he's frustrated. RBC Canada moving MMTLP stocks to EST without anyone asking. Very strange. I think it's what they're supposed to do. I don't think it's strange at all. They're supposed to, MKC, when you bought MMTLP, you were going to get at the record date and then at settlement, you were going to get 1 share of NextBridge for every 1 share of MMTLP. That's exactly what RBC Canada is supposed to provide. They don't have to ask you. They're doing what they were supposed to do a year ago. And they're going to argue we did it and we're not liable. And I think it's a sign that there is a settlement coming. There were 104, 105 broker dealers, something like that. I don't think all those broker dealers were complicit even in the slightest way. They didn't, maybe most didn't understand what was going on. And it may be that RBC Canada is that's Dane Rauscher, RBC Dane Rauscher, at least it is in the United States. Maybe they're just one of the ones that told FINRA we want to wash our hands of this. So it's not strange. It's what they're supposed to do, and it removes their liability. In my judgment, I'm not an attorney, except for they may have liability for pain and suffering and all this time that went by. But actually, what do you lose? A year later, it was a private company. It's still a private company. It's going to be hard to. Now, the other thing that you didn't get, MKC, is the potential for 2 days trading, which might have had a squeeze in it. I think that's gone. And the last thing you want to ask for is 2 days trading. You'll get next to zero back. You'll get that 0.000001 or nothing. Well, that's huge news. I don't trust the news so much, but that's great. That is massive if our Patriot system is doing it. But how can our missiles, which are not hypersonic, shoot down a hypersonic missile? Just call me a little skeptical. I don't think the Patriot missiles fly at 5, 6, 7 times the speed of sound, but maybe, I don't know. I didn't see his GTII video. I'd like to get him on and answer your questions directly. I think Ark is great. I think he's great. And I think Avid does a great job. Pedro Philly, I mean, that guy. But there's so many other people on those space calls. Not legal advice is, his legal advice, his legal observations are extremely sharp. Trying to think. Ham is amazing. Yeah, yeah. The problem when you have zero ulterior motives, people don't know what to make of you. If you work only in your self-interest, people know, okay, that's the kind of I don't know. Oh, it's an intercept problem, not a catch-up problem. So I guess the missiles would have laser guidance and then some sort of radar, and they could calculate quickly where the hypersonic missile is going to be, and then they just make sure that missile's there. That makes sense, Mark. That makes sense. As a former United States Air Force intelligence officer with the highest of security clearances, I'd have to agree with Mike. The U.S. has a lot of weapon systems that are not very well known. Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. My dad was very high, and my friend was the highest. Not U.S., not Air Force, but they agree with you. Say I've lost my mind. I'm a loony. The software can predict the trajectory. Is that true? They can't reach hypersonic speed? So it's all hype. Everything that I hear about the hypersonic missile is hype. That's this actually, I'm so glad you guys are correcting me, because it has given me sleepless nights over the last, 9 months, more than that, a year and a half, 2 years, since I read about it somewhere. And it just scared me. Some magazine but maybe it was just hype. That is awesome, DBMM and Mike and all that. All right, it's 3:14. I'll give it 1 minute, but I'm going to hang up because I have to get to work. Let's look at some of these stock prices. CAUD. Oh, I paid 181 the other day. It's 178.5. 1 million shares. This one is intriguing to me. GoLogic, 30 cents. 30 cents. GoLogic was when it first started trading, I think it was $8.50. Vocal, 0.0098. God. GDC, 275. MMAT. I'll answer these questions the next time because I've got to get on the phone for my mother. 0.0698. I don't think that's finished. That'll be, let me see, the $6 million registered direct offering. 75 million shares. 75 million shares. That's such a bad idea. At 8 cents a share, it doesn't matter, 8 cents. With 75 million warrants at 0.095. That stock's finished. 1 penny. 1 penny. Below a penny. That's a shame. It's a brilliant company, great technologies, which people will buy out of bankruptcy. But boards and lawyers and CEOs don't know, and they shouldn't have to know. That's why the cop on the beat is there, but he's a cop asleep. Long ranges. So they'd have to go after an aircraft carrier in the Pacific, not in the Mediterranean. Wow, you guys know everything. You know, I love it. I love what I'm hearing because it makes me feel safer, frankly. It makes me feel safer. Well, a reverse split would be the coup d'etat. This financing, though, it's all over. It's all over. MMAT will not recover from that. And that is they get rid of the CEO. The board doesn't listen to warnings, and they listen to lawyers. The smiling faces come in. When you do this kind of financing, it just helps out the shorts. So are you telling me, Robert Kepke, that light travels at a greater speed than sound? You have a good point. We do have the laser technology. What's that joke from that movie? A laser. This is great, Steve. I should get you guys, if I can ever have a discussion away from the market and talk about these kind of issues, because I think it's all tied in. it's all tied in to the future of our financial security. It'd be great to talk about. And of course, not all anyway, I don't want to repeat that. Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather be informed than an ostrich with my head in the sand. Thank you, Mitchell Wong. That's very kind of you. Wow. US Tahoe 1. Let's write that one down. Jeff is up. See, I think the banks are being helped by the liquidity the Fed's putting in. And I'm glad that's going up because we should be able to buy puts inexpensively, huh? Oh, so I have it at backwards. The Chinese missiles are better than the Russians. I thought it was the other way around. I know that the United States is late to the game on hypersonic missiles, but I'm guessing we can catch up and do just as good a job. We just didn't focus on it, Or maybe we have, and we just haven't bragged about it. All right. No more. Well, thanks for tuning in. I want to do short videos on some of these stocks. I wrote down the names because I think there'll be an opportunity to buy, to trade, just for tax, take advantage of tax loss selling, and just to sell out in a January bounce, February bounce, some of these stocks. So, but I have to call into my mother's I don't know what to call it, nursing home, I guess, and I have to do it now at 3:30. So I got to get ready. Russian rocket detection is very right. Yeah. That's what I read, but I agree with everybody out there, not legal advice, Steve, Mike, Mark, that it's just things I've read. I don't know for sure. All I'm trying to say is that we've been comfortable for a while, and we're going to face some real challenges ahead, real challenges. And by the way, I don't think Trump is going to be president again. I don't think they're going to let it happen. But if he is, I don't think his answers are going to be any better than this administration's, at least initially. If you want to know what I would love to see is whoever gets elected, I'd love to see their first trip to be to Israel / Saudi Arabia, whichever direction they want to go. And then the next trip to Moscow, and the next trip to Beijing, and then work their way around the other countries and just stop this march to war. We can't afford it. Fear produces cortisol. Cortisol drives inflammation and cellular death. They want you dead. No, they want me to have gout. They want me to have gout. All right, 2 more minutes, I'll go. And I wish everyone peace. And thank you for signing in. I want to just get CAUD's last trade before I go. 179. I just have a feeling that's going to have a trade before the end of the year. And Logic. But I like some of your ideas too. And oh, HNRC, let's see where that's trading. Wow. 0.0305, 0.0325, 0.0325. And they see, I sent an email to the CEO. I said, your stock trades as if you did a toxic dilutive financing. That makes me nervous. That's the risk in that stock, is Benchmark was involved, and it just makes you wonder if there's toxic financing in there. Unbelievable. It's cheap. It's either cheap or telling you it's not worth a lot of money. So I'll have to try to figure that out. Soylent Green is people. Soylent Green is people. Soylent Green is people. All right. So I'm gonna wish you all a good night. I'm sorry I didn't go to 4 o'clock, but I can't. I've got to get on the phone in 5 minutes, and we'll see you tomorrow. I hope we start getting some better news, and I'll try to get some answers on some of the questions. And pray for peace. I just pray we can not have this. Well, I pray for everyone involved, but I pray it doesn't move to Iran and other places. Okay, so good night. Ciao for now.